The lobby was built for silence, for chandeliers and whispers, yet it broke apart in a single instant. Red wine spilled across the carpet, bright and violent like blood blooming on snow. A glass shattered its echo, cutting through the marble like a blade. A VIP guest hurled his chair back, voice sharp, streaming the disgrace to strangers online. A drunk man crashed into the boutique window shards, bursting like frozen rain. A child's tray slammed to the floor, silver and porcelain scattering in every direction. Amid the wreckage, a young employee stood frozen, trembling a statue of fear in uniform. And then, Ethan's laugh, cold, deliberate, slid through the noise. "This," he sneered, "is what happens when you choose kindness over pedigree." But from the corners, the older staff stepped forward, shoulders squared, voices steady. "We will not let this empire fall again." They still remembered the night everything broke. Jackson Wade. The man in the worn jacket was pressed between two guards, his steps forced toward the golden doors. Behind him, Clara stood at the desk, her arms folded, her smile, sharp and victorious. Her voice had carried through the marble standards must be protected. The room had nodded. The guests had smirked, and Jackson had vanished into the night like an intruder sent back to the streets. But 20 minutes later, the silence cracked. The same doors revolved, and the same man walked back in. No guards at his side, no hesitation in his step. He placed a single black card on the counter, silver letters gleaming, Jackson Wade, Chief Executive Officer. Jackson Hospitality Group. The lobby that had dismissed him now froze. Clara's face drained of color as his calm voice cut through the air. "You refuse to see me. Now you will answer for it." Before the crowd, he called the board. Before the staff, he opened the records. 17 complaints, 6 payouts, all under Clara's name. The truth bled across the screen, undeniable, unstoppable, and with it came his verdict. Effective immediately, Clara Langford's employment is terminated. The room gasped. The empire shifted. The woman who had ruled with condescension was erased in a single breath. Reporters stormed the lobby, cameras flashing like lightning against marble. Within hours, headlines spread, CEO humiliated fires manager on the spot. Online, a single phrase burned through timelines or grand royal truth. But what the world remembered most was not revenge. It was his vow spoken after the storm. Luxury means nothing without dignity. From this day forward, respect is the standard. 1 year later, the Grand Royal was unrecognizable. The marble floors still gleamed, but the coldness had vanished. Where once silence had pressed against the walls, now warmth filled the air. Guests no longer entered with suspicion in their eyes. They were greeted with genuine smiles, with voices that carried welcome rather than judgment. The staff looked different, not in uniform alone, but in spirit. They came from everywhere, young and old, polished and humble. Some, seasoned in hospitality, others new, but eager. Diversity was no longer hidden. It stood proudly behind every counter, at every doorway. There was no barrier of pedigree, no silent measure of appearance. What mattered was presence, respect, and the dignity with which one chose to serve. Above the entrance, a new emblem shone. Beneath the crest, 3 words had been carved into bronze: luxury with dignity. It was more than a slogan. It was the promise that had remade the hotel. The change did not go unnoticed. Guests who had once whispered in judgment now whispered in praise. Some recorded small clips, an attendant helping a child tie a shoelace, a barista offering coffee with both hands, a concierge kneeling to speak to an elderly traveler eye to eye. These fragments spread online, quiet proof that something had shifted here. The press echoed the sentiment. Articles described the Grand Royal not as a property, but as a symbol. Forbes called it a case study and cultural rebirth. Travel magazines highlighted it as the hotel where luxury and humanity no longer fight for the same space. CNN declared it the model of the 21st century. The lobby that once humiliated its owner now stood as an invitation to everyone who walked through its doors. A place where chandeliers no longer shone down to separate but to illuminate faces.